In this video, I want to go over the important angle pairs. You will have supplementary angle, complementary angles, and vertical angle. Okay, these are angle pairs, and we call it pairs because they're two angle. The two angle, when they're right next to each other, the two angles share a side. We call it adjacent angle. When the two angle of the pair, the two angle are separate from each other, we call it non-adjacent. Okay, adjacent mean next to, and then non-adjacent mean not next to. Okay, also one more keyword, linear pair. Linear pair means it's the two angle that add up to be 180 degree or make a line. Linear pair, right? The word linear, line, make a line. Any line will make a 180 degree, half of the circle or semicircle. These are important angle pairs that you need to know. Complementary angle, supplementary angles, vertical angles. Let's hear you say it. Vertical angle. Very good. Adjacent angle. Non-adjacent angle. Non-adjacent. Linear pair. Good job. Complementary angle. Good. Supplementary angle. Supplementary angle. Good job. In this video, I want to talk about angles. Okay, so we got congruent angles, and I want to show you guys the congruent angle on this slide right here. We use angle, we make it curve a little bit, so the tick mark we call it arc. So the number of arc on the angle will tell you if the angle are congruent or not congruent to another angle. Right here on the very top, we'll see that we have a different color with the one arc with the 30 degree. You can see that on the triangle ABC and EFD. Well, we don't always have the different color to mark it. So the number of the arc tell you that they are congruent. Also, the number, the measure of the angle right there, 30 degrees, should tell you that they are congruent. So the 60 degrees will see that it has two arc, and it should match with the 60 degree two arc on the EFD triangle. And then we have the angle that is not marked with the arc. You guys can see that there's a little square on there. So there's the square, that means that it should be 90 degree. Perpendicular line form 90 degree, and a right triangle is called for 90 degree. So when we have the little square in the corner, know that it's always 90 degree. And the angle, when we are marking it, we have one arc congruent to one arc, two arc congruent to two arc, three arc angle congruent to three arc angle. Now we have tick mark on the sides to mark congruence. Remember that we mentioned earlier. And then on the angle, we can use the arc. And sometimes we also double marked it with the arc and the tick mark. You can see it on the second picture right here. We show you when we double marking it with the one arc. If you look on the right, and the tick mark on top of the arc. That is what we use for marking angle congruent to each other. Like this one, 48 degree is going to be congruent to the other measure of the angle, 48 degree. Okay, without any marking, I know from the angle measure. And with the marking, we can have the marking of the arc, or we can have the arc and the tick mark to mark that the angles are congruent to each other. On this slide, I want to go over the complementary angle and supplementary angle. Complementary angles are two angles that add up to be 90 degree or a right angle. Supplementary angles are two angles that add up to be 180 degree, or just make a straight line. A straight line also is 180 degree. Okay, so here are the trick to remember complementary or supplementary. Sometime when we ask you complementary, you need to recall this number right away. Complementary, 90 degree. supplementary 180 degree. You got to remember that right away. So the trick is that alphabetically, the C come before the S, right? So C is the 90 degree, which is 90. And then the S is 180 degree, which is a little bit bigger. And alphabet order, you can use that to remember 90 or 180. Which of the angle match with which word? Also, we have another trick that we will show you with the drawing. If you can imagine the C, and we have added a little dash down the C, what does that form? A 9, right? So that means it's going to be 90 degree. Okay, now the S, if you look at it and you're adding this diagonal line on the S, what number does that give you? 8, right? So the S, remember, supplementary 180. Okay, so the 8 come from 180. So that is the trick with one dashed line. The C can become 9, and that should tell you it's 90 degree. And then the S, if you make a diagonal line on the S, it form an 8, and that should give you a hint. It's 180 for supplementary angle. Here you will see some problem solving regarding the right triangle. We know one corner, which is 90 degree there. We don't know the other angle, so we're going to put in angle A and B, which are missing. We know that the sum of a triangle for all the angles in the triangle would be 180 degree. We put angle A plus angle B plus 90 degree equal 180. And then solve for the two missing angle. We just subtract the number there 90 degree to both sides. And you find that the missing angle A and B are going to sum up to be equal to 90 degrees. Here's yet another trick on how to remember complementary angle by Socratica.
Here's a way to remember the difference between complementary and supplementary angles. When somebody says something and you totally agree with them, you might say, "You're right!" It's kind of a compliment. And two complementary angles form a right angle.
A little bit more of problem solving in this unit you might have to do independently.
These two angles are supplementary, so A plus 65 degrees equals 180 degrees. If you subtract 65 from both sides, you get A equals 115 degrees. Let's see another example. Suppose these two angles are complementary. What is the size of angle B? Well, if two angles are complementary, then their sum is 90 degrees. So 35 degrees plus B equals 90 degrees. If you solve for B, you get B equals 55 degrees.
Okay, so use any trick that you like to remember the number with the angle. Remember, when we have any straight line, when we ask for the angle on that line, it will be 180 degree. And we kind of remind you with the protractor right there. This is the tool that we will use to measure angle. We will have some activity to show you how to use that tool called protractor. It's going to be half of the circle, so we call it semicircle. Semicircle is 180 degree. So what is the whole circle equal to? 180 times 2, or 180 plus 180 is 360. If you're thinking that, you're right. All these words have something in common. They all equal 180 degrees. We have semicircle, a straight line, a straight angle, a linear pair, or supplementary angle. Another name for it would be called a straight line, a straight angle, which is equal to 180, or a linear pair. When they are adding up to 180, we also have supplementary angles, but when they are next to each other, we call it adjacent angles. And then one more basic fact. Right angle, or that little corners square, will tell you it's always 90 degree. One last thing I want to go over here. We are showing you vertical angle. Now, vertical angles, we need to always remember that when we have two straight lines, it has to be straight line intersecting at one point, then the opposite angle will be called vertical angle, and they are always congruent to each other. And what do I mean congruent? Congruent means that they're going to always have the exact same measure on the angle. Here is the vertical angle, and we are showing you with the arc on the angle to remember the arc. The number of arc tell you that the angle are congruent or not congruent. One arc is not congruent to the two arc on the angle. But one arc angle, the orange here, the number 3, angle 3 and angle 1, they are congruent to each other, and we shaded the same color, the orange. The purple angle 2 and 4, those are vertical angle. Another demonstrations of vertical angle, we color code them for you. 1 and 3, 2 and 4, the pairs of angles, when they are vertical, they are equal to each other, or though the exact word is congruent, and they're going to be the same exact measure. Angle 1 and 4, if you guys look at that picture, the same picture, angle 1 and 4 form a straight line. And remember what the straight line will be? Yeah, 180 degree, okay? And then angle 2 and 3, see? It also form a straight line, and that would be 180 degree. Angle 3 and 4, straight line. Angle 1 and 2, straight line. Straight line, always remember, straight line is half of the circle, which is 180 degree. One thing to keep in mind is that the angles do not have to be right next to each other. You can see the top pairs, we called it non-adjacent supplementary angles. As long as they add up to 180, the supplementary angles name still apply. And then on the bottom, we call it adjacent supplementary angles or linear pairs. The same concept applies to complementary angle. Here's the note that I like for you to write for this video and for this lesson. This is also an option. You may write this. This is not an option. This is the flashcard you need to make for the lesson. You might get question in your work or a quiz check for understanding that asks, what is the complement of 70 degree angle? Or 20 is the complementary of what angle? And your answer would be 70 plus 20 is 90, which is the complementary angle associated with 90 degree, right? Same thing with 25 degree. What is the complementary angle for 25 degree? That would be 65 degree, because those two add up to 90 degree. So the same thing for supplementary. You might get questions like, what is the supplementary for a 20 degree angle? And you take 180 subtract 20. Or what is the supplementary of 130, which is 50, because it add up to 180 degree. So that is some of the work that you might get. On this work here, you are going to read the box. Remember, it has important information to review with you. Complementary angle 47 degree is done for you. The first one, we draw the line to match it to 43 degree. And then you're going to take 180 and subtract 43 to match it to the correct box on the right hand side for supplementary angle. On the vertical angles, remember opposite angles are congruent, right? So the missing angle should get the exact same degree as the vertical angle. And if we're asking for the adjacent angle, you take 180 because it's a straight line, subtract the angle given to find the missing angle. Finally, a little entertainment by Bongos on Don't Run Away and puzzle for you. Bongo is a Swahili word and the meaning of it is brain. You use it to find solutions to whatever life throws your way. If you're in a tough situation, don't give up, don't you complain. It's okay, you find a way, just use your brain. To me. Thank you for for watching. I hope you found this helpful. See you next time.